On today's show, we have a ton of late-breaking Seahawks and Commanders injury news. Literally, as we walked in here of Seahawks Today and got ready to film this video, I had a whole script laid out. I had graphics all planned, ready to go. Producer Reed was excited to go and start pushing buttons to get through this video. And then, all of a sudden, news broke about some Commanders injuries. News broke about some Seattle Seahawks injuries. And so we had to switch up the graphics, switch everything up, and get ready to go. But that's why you subscribe to Seahawks Today. We're not going to let any news here slip through the cracks. If there's something big that happens to the Commanders against the Seahawks, we're going to make sure that you know about it, because how is that going to affect your Seattle Seahawks? And when there's news about your Seattle Seahawks, including a key player having a re-aggravation to an injury, you're going to want to know about it. Right now, we're on the road to 75K. There's 74,000 of you plus. So make sure that if you are not subscribed, you subscribe to the channel. And if you have a friend that bleeds green and blue, send this video over to them so they can subscribe as well. Now, the big news coming out of Washington is obviously with Terry McLaurin, but because I'm great at teasing, I'm going to go into the Jayden Daniels story first, because honestly, I think it is more important. Head coach Dan Quinn says Jayden Daniels had a good rehab session on Sunday, and the plan is for him to be a part of practice this week. That's coming to you from JP Finley, a radio host out in Washington. This is huge for the Commanders because they're going to get their star QB back. And while he might not be 100% healthy, they are still going to get a good version of him. At this point in the week, on a Wednesday, barring a crazy setback, which, as we've learned in Seahawks land, those happen, I do expect Jayden Daniels to play in this one. Now, this is what the 2025 season has looked like for Daniels. Obviously, the completion percentage is not where he'd want it to be. Still getting a lot of touchdowns for not a lot of game action. And the interception mark is, I think, what's most important to me. Jayden Daniels, while obviously not playing as well as he had been his rookie season, he's still not turning the football over, so he's allowing the Commanders to still have opportunities to win. Obviously, it isn't the stellar second year that he wanted. When he came out and performed the way that Daniels did as a rookie, basically single-handedly took this Commanders team to the NFC Championship game, you kind of expected him to pick up right where he left off, obviously after getting some footage of him and getting a whole year to kind of figure out what makes Jayden Daniels tick. Defensive coordinators in the NFL have come up with better game plans to kind of slow him down and stop him, as well as you're seeing Jayden Daniels kind of deal with some of the injuries. Now, are the Seahawks going to have to adjust their game plan to play Daniels? Not entirely. Marcus Mariota has a very similar skill set to Daniels. I would just say that he throws the ball at a slightly worse rate. He's a little less accurate, and he runs a little bit slower than Jayden Daniels was. So there's going to be an adjustment to the game plan for sure, but it isn't going to be something crazy out of left field with big changes. To me, that defensive line, they got to eat. I need Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams to have controlled power rushes to the quarterback. What do I mean by that? I mean, I need to see a lot of bull rushes where both guys are staying gap sound. And what they're going to do is they are going to close the pocket from in front of Daniels. Most quarterbacks, especially a quarterback like Daniels, does not like seeing pressure in his face. That's going to allow DeMarcus Lawrence, who you see in this picture, and Uchenna Nwosu on the outside, time to compress it in tight. What I mean by that is, again, you're going to need more power rushes from both of them, and they need to stay gap sound. If your job is to be in the C gap, be in the C gap. If your job is to be in the B gap, be in the B gap. What that's going to stop Daniels from being able to do is get out of the pocket and then play backyard football. That's where Daniels excels the most at. And this Seahawks defense is good enough to still get a good rush without needing to have, Uchenna Nwosu beat someone off the line. Drake Thomas got added in a blitz. If you're able to compress this pocket, it's going to make it harder for Daniels to throw, and he's going to feel the pressure a little bit quicker, but he's going to have nowhere to escape to. If he has nowhere to escape to, I think you're going to see a lot more partying like in this picture from Uchenna Nwosu and Leonard Williams. Hey, if you do bring in a blitz, make sure that it is a smart blitz and it's a well-timed blitz. A smart contained rush is going to be huge for your Seattle Seahawks in this one. You can't let Jayden Daniels get out of the pocket, extend plays, because if he's out of the pocket and he's extending plays, that makes it more difficult for your secondary. A banged-up secondary that already has a difficult time, as we've seen, covering wide receivers for more than 3 or 4 seconds. When your defensive line is getting a good pass rush, you seem to win football games pretty well. When they don't get a good pass rush, watch that Tampa Bay film all over again. Now, you tell me, are you nervous if Jayden Daniels plays in this game? I think at this point, you have to assume he's going to play. Yes, I would be nervous. Anytime one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL plays in a game against your team, you should be nervous. I'd be down in the comment section typing in yes. If you're not nervous, kudos to you. Congratulations, big you-know-whats. You can go down in the comments and type no. We're going to talk about Terry McLaurin's injury and what's going on with your Seattle Seahawks in a moment. But first, I need to let you know that this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you can cash in. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones are overhyped? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. I have a nice little 2-pick power play for this Sunday. Sam Darnold, more on his passing yards. George Pickens, more on his receiving yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Here's the late breaking news. No Terry McLaurin. He is not going to be active in this game against the Seattle Seahawks. He has a banged up quadricep. It wasn't able to go. It's already a issue if you're declaring him out by Wednesday. There was some word that, hey, maybe he'll be able to sneak in. Maybe he'll get into some late game action. Maybe he'll be out there more as a decoy. It's not going to happen for the Commanders. Now, what are the Commanders losing? Obviously, they're losing the top target for Jayden Daniels, but I would have to say that this year hasn't been exactly stellar for Terry McLaurin. It's been fine. His reception yardage per average catch isn't bad. I mean, 15.6 yards a catch, that's not bad. But he's not getting into the end zone at the same clip. Obviously, the yardage is down, and it leads, I think, not just to myself to question, but some others as well to say, hey, you demanded to get paid. You sat out all this time. Does that play a role in the injuries? I think that you see players that sit out extended periods of time during training camp. They usually come in, try and ramp it up too quickly, and then they're not able to go when they need to be able to go. How does this affect the Seattle Seahawks game plan? To be honest, I don't really expect the Seahawks game plan to change much here. If anything, your life becomes a little bit easier in the secondary. You are able to now focus more on a player like Zach Ertz. Now you can commit maybe an extra linebacker, maybe an extra safety over the top. Maybe you just go, hey, Nicky Manwari, your job is to shut down Zach Ertz in this game. When you don't have Terry McLaurin, that deep play threat, well, frankly, it really isn't there for the Commanders. So, if anything, your life becomes just a little bit easier. I expected the secondary to come in and kind of shut him down anyways. If you have Devon Witherspoon returning, that's always going to be a good sign for your secondary. But the other big one, too, is Riq Woolen's been playing pretty darn well for you. Josh Jobe has been playing pretty darn well for you. You have a multitude of different cornerbacks. If Devon Witherspoon wasn't able to go in and shut him down, or if you didn't feel comfortable with him going in and shutting him down, you are going to be just fine. You are going to have a secondary that could rotate through a bunch of different players and set themselves up into a position where Terry McLaurin was going to be a non-factor in this one. So Terry McLaurin not being able to play, again, doesn't really affect your Seahawks game plan. If anything, it might make it focus more on a guy like Zach Ertz and focus more on finding ways to get pressure against Jayden Daniels. Now, here's the good news. And because I'm a glass half full type of guy, I'm going to start with the good news. Christian Haynes has officially returned to practice for your Seattle Seahawks. Now, head coach Mike Macdonald did say that the expectation is for him to be a backup. I want to remind everybody, though, that going in to the offseason this year is between Christian Haynes and Anthony Bradford for that right guard spot. Maybe there's a chance after a couple of weeks of practice as Haynes makes his way back into, playing shape, maybe he's able to battle Anthony Bradford for a starting spot because, frankly, I do think that there needs to be a change there at that right guard spot. If you're not going to make a trade elsewhere, maybe someone can step up inside the locker room already. Here's the bad news. Julian Love had a setback in practice this week, and he re-injured his hamstring. Now, the hamstring can be very fickle, and it seemed like you were ready to get Julian Love back. He was out moving around. We had showed a picture the other day about what he was doing at practice. Doesn't sound like he's going to be able to go this Sunday. So when you look at that Seahawks safeties unit, just when you think you're getting some good news, just when you think you're getting all the boys back together, the band ends up hurting its hamstring, and now you're looking at another backup type of situation. Now, Nicky Manwari has really played well in that slot corner role, or that nickel role, big nickel, whatever you want to call it, a bunch of different names for it. So obviously the assumption would be that Ty Okada would come into that strong safety spot opposite of Kobe Bryant. Now, Okada has played well in that role, but I would not come up here and tell you that he's been perfect. You've seen a lot of issues with communication in that secondary unit, and I think some of that does fall on Okada. It falls on all the other backups who are out there. Whenever you don't have your starters in a game, you're going to see a slight decrease in production. Now, Okada's been able to close some of that gap. We need him to continue to close some of that gap if Julian Love isn't able to go. And that is just so unfortunate that he re-aggravated that hamstring injury. It's frustrating. I want the kid back out there. He's an absolute animal, and he's been huge for your Seattle Seahawks. But this is why you subscribe. We literally were in the middle of filming a video, scrapped it, said, no, not good enough because of all the late breaking news surrounding Terry McLaurin not being able to play in this game and Julian Love being put in a position where he might not be active. That's why you subscribe to the channel, because we get you accurate information faster than anybody else when it comes to covering your Seattle Seahawks. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you later on.